The separation news ruins the gala. Hours later, Claire learns the silence came from the Mafia boss. The chandelier light fractures into 1,000 golden shards across the ballroom ceiling, and Claire stands frozen at the entrance, her emerald gown pooling at her feet like spilled ink. Her husband Marcus is across the room, his hand resting on the small of another woman's back, and the photographers are capturing every moment of their public unraveling. She has spent 3 years building a life with him, believing his promises, accepting his excuses. Now the truth burns through her chest like acid. The woman beside him is Victoria Ashworth, the heiress whose family owns half of Manhattan's real estate, and the way Marcus leans into her tells Claire everything his words never did. She forces herself to breathe. In, out. The gala continues around her, oblivious to the earthquake cracking through her foundation. Waiters glide past with champagne flutes, laughter rises and falls like waves, and somewhere a string quartet plays Vivaldi as if the world hasn't just shifted on its axis. Her phone buzzes in her clutch. She ignores it. Marcus hasn't looked at her once since she arrived. He knew she would be here. He chose to bring Victoria anyway, chose to let Claire discover the truth surrounded by 500 of New York's elite, chose to humiliate her in the most public way possible. She wants to scream. She wants to throw champagne in his face, wants to watch his perfectly tailored suit stain dark with her fury. But Claire is not that woman. She never has been. So she does what she has always done. She swallows the pain, straightens her spine, and begins the long walk across the ballroom toward the exit. Each step feels like a mile. Eyes follow her, whispers trail behind her like smoke. Everyone knows. Of course they know. Marcus has never been subtle, and Victoria certainly hasn't tried to hide her conquest. Claire realizes with sickening clarity that she has been the last to know, the foolish wife who believed her husband when he said he was working late. She is halfway across the room when a man steps into her path. He is tall, dark-haired, with eyes the color of storm clouds gathering over the Atlantic. His tuxedo fits him like armor, and when he speaks, his voice is low and controlled, the kind of voice that expects to be obeyed. "I need you to come with me," he says. "It's not a request." Claire blinks. She has never seen this man before, has no idea who he is or why he is blocking her escape from her own personal catastrophe. "Excuse me?" He doesn't repeat himself. Instead, he takes her elbow, gently but firmly, and guides her toward a side door she hadn't noticed before. "Who are you?" she demands, trying to pull away. "Let go of me." His grip doesn't tighten, but it doesn't release either. "My name is Dante Caruso," he says quietly. "And in about 30 seconds, 3 men are going to enter this ballroom looking for you. Men who work for people. Your husband owes a great deal of money to. You can stay and find out what happens when they locate you, or you can come with me and live to see tomorrow." Claire's blood turns to ice. Marcus owes money? To whom? What kind of money requires men to hunt her at a charity gala? "I don't understand," she whispers. "You don't have to understand," Dante replies, steering her through the door and into a service corridor that smells of industrial cleaning products and old carpet. "You just have to trust me." Trust him? A stranger, a man who materialized out of nowhere with warnings about mysterious men and dangerous debts. "Why should I trust you?" Dante glances at her, and for a moment something flickers in those grey eyes, something almost human. "Because right now I'm the only one trying to keep you alive." They move through the corridor, past startled catering staff and confused security guards who step aside when Dante flashes something from his pocket. Claire catches a glimpse of it but can't make out the details. Her mind is spinning too fast, trying to process the last 10 minutes of her life. Marcus and Victoria, the humiliation, the stranger named Dante, men looking for her. None of it makes sense. All of it feels like a nightmare she can't wake from. They emerge into an underground parking garage, and a black SUV is waiting with its engine running. Dante opens the back door for her. "Get in." Claire hesitates. Every instinct screams at her to run, to find a police officer, to do anything other than climb into a strange vehicle with a man she just met. But behind her she hears shouting, the sound of running feet, and Dante's expression hardens. Now, Claire. She doesn't know how he knows her name. She doesn't have time to ask. She throws herself into the SUV, and Dante slides in beside her, slamming the door shut. The vehicle lurches forward before she can even fasten her seatbelt, tires squealing against concrete as it races toward the exit. Through the tinted rear window, Claire sees 3 men burst into the garage. They are large, menacing, dressed in dark clothes that suggest they aren't here for the champagne. One of them points at the retreating SUV and reaches for something at his waist. "Down," Dante commands, pushing her head below the window line. She hears a sound like fireworks, and the rear window spiderwebs with cracks but doesn't shatter. The SUV accelerates harder, throwing Claire against the leather seat, and then they are out of the garage, merging into Manhattan traffic, disappearing into the river of red taillights. For a long moment, neither of them speaks. Claire's heart pounds so hard she can feel it in her throat, her teeth, her fingertips. She is shaking, she realizes, trembling like a leaf in a hurricane. "Who are you?" she asks again, and this time her voice cracks. Dante straightens his cuffs, utterly composed despite the chaos they just escaped. "I told you, Dante Caruso." "That's not what I mean. Who are you, really? Why did you save me? How did you know they were coming?" He turns to look at her, and his gaze is unreadable. "Your husband made some very dangerous deals with some very dangerous people. When he couldn't deliver what he promised, he offered them something else instead. Collateral." Claire's stomach drops. "Me?" Dante nods once. "You." The word lands like a physical blow. Marcus offered her. Her husband, the man she shared a bed with, the man she was building a life with, traded her like property to pay off his debts. "I don't believe you." Dante shrugs. "Believe what you want. But those men back there weren't coming to invite you to brunch." Claire presses her palms against her eyes, trying to stop the tears that threaten to spill. This cannot be happening. She went to a gala expecting awkward small talk and mediocre hors d'oeuvres. She did not expect to discover her husband's affair, be hunted by dangerous men, and rescued by a stranger who speaks in riddles. "Where are you taking me? Somewhere safe." She laughs, and it sounds hollow even to her own ears. "Safe? I don't even know you. How do I know you're not worse than they are?" Dante's jaw tightens. "You don't, but I had the chance to hand you over to them, and instead I'm driving you across the city in a bulletproof vehicle. Make of that what you will. Bulletproof." The word registers slowly. The cracked window that didn't shatter. The way the SUV absorbed impacts that should have torn through metal. Who has bulletproof vehicles? Who needs them? The answer comes to her like a whisper from a nightmare. "You're Mafia," she says. It's not a question. Dante doesn't deny it. The Caruso family has controlled the eastern seaboard for 4 generations. Your husband thought he could borrow from us and disappear into his luxury lifestyle without consequences. He was wrong. Claire feels sick. Marcus borrowed from the Mafia. Marcus, her husband, the man who complained about traffic and forgot their anniversary and left his socks on the bathroom floor. That Marcus made deals with organized crime. "I didn't know," she whispers. "I swear I had no idea." "I believe you," Dante says, and his tone softens marginally. "That's why you're in this car, instead of that garage." The SUV continues through the city, past familiar streets that suddenly look alien and threatening. Claire watches the lights blur past and tries to understand how her life went from gala disappointment to this in less than an hour. "What happens now?" she asks. Dante leans back against the seat. "Now we figure out how to clean up your husband's mess before it gets you both eliminated." Both. The word catches her attention. "You would help him too? After what he did?" Dante's expression darkens. "I have no interest in helping Marcus Chen, but his debts are complicated, and his removal would create problems I don't need. So for now we find a solution that keeps everyone breathing." Claire absorbs this. The man beside her speaks about life and elimination with the casual ease of someone discussing stock portfolios. She should be terrified. She is terrified. But beneath the fear, something else stirs. Relief, because whatever Dante Caruso is, whatever darkness he represents, he pulled her out of danger when no one else would. "Thank you," she says quietly. Dante looks at her, surprised. For what? For saving my life. Even if I don't understand why. He holds her gaze for a moment, and something shifts in those storm-grey eyes, something almost warm. Don't thank me yet, he says. We're just getting started. The SUV turns onto a bridge, and Manhattan's skyline glitters behind them like scattered diamonds. Claire doesn't know where they're going. She doesn't know what tomorrow will bring. But for the first time since she walked into that ballroom and saw Marcus with another woman, she feels something other than despair. She feels hope, and that perhaps is the most dangerous thing of all. Check if you're already subscribed to this channel. Every week, we bring you stories of transformation, strength, and unexpected love. Subscribe now so you never miss a moment of these journeys that touch the heart and stay with you long after they end. The safe house turns out to be a brownstone in Brooklyn Heights, its facade weathered and unremarkable. The kind of building you would walk past 1,000 times without a second glance. But inside, Claire discovers, it is a fortress. Steel doors disguised as wood, security cameras hidden in light fixtures, windows that Dante explains are reinforced to withstand significant impact. You keep many people here? Claire asks as she follows him through the narrow hallway. Only the ones worth protecting. She isn't sure if that's a compliment or simply a statement of fact. The interior is surprisingly warm, decorated in deep blues and rich browns, with leather furniture and bookshelves lining the walls. It looks like someone's home, not a criminal hideout, and the contradiction makes Claire's head spin. Dante gestures toward a door on the right. Guest room, there's clothes in the closet, toiletries in the bathroom. Get some rest. Tomorrow we start figuring out how to untangle this mess. Claire hesitates at the threshold. My phone. I should call someone. My mother. My sister. Not tonight, Dante says firmly. Your phone can be tracked. So can theirs. Until we know exactly who we're dealing with, you stay off the grid. But they'll worry. Better worried than targeted. It's harsh logic. But Claire can't argue with it. Not after seeing those men in the garage, not after hearing the sounds that cracked the SUV's window. She enters the guest room and closes the door behind her, leaning against it until her knees stop shaking. The room is small, but elegant. A queen bed with crisp white sheets. A window overlooking a garden that's probably monitored by half a dozen cameras. A closet that, as promised, contains clothes in various sizes, tags still attached. Claire strips off her emerald gown and lets it fall to the floor in a pool of silk and regret. She chose this dress because Marcus said he liked her in green. She spent 2 hours on her hair and makeup, wanting to look beautiful for a man who was already planning his public betrayal. She is such a fool. The bathroom mirror shows her a woman she barely recognizes, mascara smeared beneath her eyes, lipstick faded to a ghost of its former color, hair beginning to escape its careful arrangement. She looks exactly how she feels. Destroyed. Claire turns on. The shower and steps beneath water hot enough to sting. She lets it wash away the evening, the champagne smells and perfume, the traces of a life that no longer exists. When she finally emerges, pink-skinned and exhausted, she feels almost human again. Almost. She finds pajamas in a dresser drawer and climbs into the unfamiliar bed. The sheets are expensive, the mattress perfectly firm, but sleep refuses to come. Every time she closes her eyes, she sees Marcus and Victoria, the photographers, the men in the garage, Dante's storm-grey eyes. Who is he, really? Not just a mafia boss, though he admitted that readily enough, but what kind of criminal rescues strange women from galas and installs them in Brooklyn safe houses with fresh clothes and reinforced windows? Claire has spent her whole life avoiding anything dangerous, anything complicated. She married Marcus because he seemed stable and successful. She built a career in interior design because it was creative without being risky. She cultivated friendships that were pleasant but shallow, relationships that never demanded too much. And now she is hiding from men who want to trade her like currency, protected by a man whose family controls criminal enterprises across the eastern seaboard. The irony is not lost on her. Sometime after 3 in the morning, Claire finally drifts into fitful sleep. She dreams of ballrooms and bulletproof glass, of storm clouds gathering over the ocean, of a voice that says, "Trust me," when she has no reason to trust anyone at all. She wakes to sunlight streaming through the reinforced windows and the smell of coffee drifting from somewhere in the house. For a moment, she forgets where she is. Then, memory crashes back, and she sits up so fast her head spins. The Gala, Marcus, Victoria, the men, Dante. She is still in Brooklyn, still hiding, still alive. Claire dresses quickly in clothes that fit better than they should, simple jeans and a soft grey sweater that someone clearly chose, with care. She finds her way to the kitchen, following the coffee smell like a lifeline. Dante is already there, seated at a small table with a laptop open before him and a cup of espresso at his elbow. In the morning light, he looks different somehow. Younger, maybe. Or perhaps just more human. He glances up when she enters. There's coffee on the counter. "Help yourself." Claire pours herself a cup and wraps her hands around its warmth, needing the anchor. "Did you sleep?" she asks. "Enough." She suspects that means not much. She settles into the chair across from him, studying his face as he types something on the laptop. Strong jaw, sharp cheekbones, a small scar above his left eyebrow that she didn't notice last night. "Can I ask you something?" He doesn't look up. "You're going to anyway." "Why did you save me?" "The real reason." "You said my husband borrowed from your family. So technically, I'm connected to someone who owes you. Wouldn't it be easier to use me as leverage?" Dante stops typing. Easier, maybe, but not right. The answer surprises her. Since when does the Mafia care about what's right? He meets her gaze, and she sees something in his eyes she didn't expect, something that looks almost like pain. "Since I became the one making decisions." Claire doesn't know what to say to that. She sips her coffee instead, letting the silence stretch between them. Finally, Dante closes his laptop. "Here's what I know. Your husband borrowed $12 million from my organization 18 months ago. He claimed it was for a business investment, some tech startup that was supposed to revolutionize something or other. The investment failed, the money disappeared, and when it came time to repay, Marcus had nothing. $12 million. Claire feels dizzy. She knew Marcus had business ventures, knew he was ambitious and sometimes reckless, but $12 million from the Mafia. "I didn't know," she whispers. "I swear I didn't." "I believe you," Dante says again. "Your financial records show you maintained separate accounts. You weren't involved in his business dealings. As far as I can tell, you were exactly what you appeared to be. A wife kept in the dark. Then why am I in danger? Because when Marcus couldn't pay, he offered the men he was dealing with an alternative. He told them about you, said you came from a wealthy family, that your connections could be valuable. He essentially put a price on your head." Claire's hands shake so badly she has to set down her coffee cup. "My family isn't that wealthy. My parents are comfortable, but they don't have millions. Marcus either lied or exaggerated. Either way, the men he was dealing with believed him. And once they decided you had value, you became a target." "Who are they?" Claire asks. "You said they work for people your husband owes." "Aren't you those people?" Dante's expression darkens. "The Caruso family is legitimate in most of our operations now. We control ports, real estate, some financial services. We don't trade in people. But there are other organizations who do. Groups that split off from the old families or came in from overseas, less principled, more brutal. Marcus was desperate and stupid, so he went to them when we started pressuring him for repayment. So he borrowed from you, then borrowed from someone else to pay you back? Something like that. Except he didn't pay us back. He used the second loan to prop up his failing investments and his lifestyle. Now he owes everyone, and the only asset he has left is you." Claire wants to laugh at the absurdity of it. She wants to cry at the betrayal. She settles for staring at the table, trying to process information that seems designed to break her. "What do they want from me?" she asks finally. "Exactly?" Dante hesitates, and that hesitation tells her the answer is worse than anything she's imagined. "They want to sell you," he says quietly. "Overseas. To men who collect beautiful women like others collect art." The words hit her like ice water. Sell me. Trade you. Auction you. Whatever terminology makes it easier. None of it makes it easier. Claire realizes she is crying, tears sliding silently down her cheeks, and she doesn't bother to wipe them away. I did everything right, she says, her voice breaking. I worked hard. I was kind to people. I built a life I thought was good. And now you're telling me my husband sold me to traffickers because he couldn't manage his money. Dante reaches across the table and covers her hand with his. The gesture is unexpected, and his skin is warm against her cold fingers. You're not sold, he says firmly. You're not traded. You're here with me, and I give you my word that no one is going to touch you. Claire looks at their joined hands, then at his face. Why? Why do you care what happens to me? Dante is silent for a long moment. Because I've seen what happens to women who get caught in this world. Because my sister was almost one of them before my father intervened. Because some lines shouldn't be crossed, and the men after you don't believe in lines at all. Claire absorbs this. His sister. There's a story there, she senses, one he isn't ready to tell. So what happens now? Now we find out exactly who Marcus is dealing with. We figure out what they want, what they're willing to accept instead of you. And we make sure you disappear so completely that they can't find you even if they try. Disappear, Claire repeats. You mean leave my life, my job, my family, everything? Temporarily, until the threat is neutralized. And how long will that take? Dante withdraws his hand. I don't know. Could be weeks, could be months, could be longer. Months. The word stretches before her like a prison sentence. But what choice does she have? Go back to her apartment and wait for those men to find her. Call the police and hope they can protect her from people who make other people vanish. Dante is watching her, waiting for her decision. And Claire realizes, with a strange kind of clarity, that she already made her choice last night when she climbed into that SUV. Okay, she says, tell me what I need to do. The days at the safe house blur together. Claire learns the rhythms of her new prison, which isn't really a prison at all, just a strange limbo between the life she had and the life she might never reclaim. Dante comes and goes at odd hours, always returning with information that he parcels out in careful doses. The men after her are part of an organization called the Kovac Group, Eastern European with American connections. They specialize in the kind of trade that doesn't appear in any legitimate ledger. Marcus is in hiding, having realized too late that the people he dealt with don't accept apologies or payment plans. Claire processes each revelation like she's reading about someone else's tragedy. The emotional distance is necessary for survival. If she let herself truly feel what Marcus did, what he was willing to let happen to her, she would shatter into pieces too small to reassemble. Instead, she focuses on the present. The books in Dante's library, which range from Hemingway to Machiavelli. The garden visible from her window, where early spring flowers push through dark soil. The meals that appear at regular intervals, prepared by a housekeeper named Rosa, who speaks little English but communicates warmth through perfectly seasoned pasta and concerned glances. On the 5th day, Claire asks if she can help in the kitchen. Rosa's face lights up. After that, Claire spends mornings learning to make fresh pasta, her hands covered in flour, while Rosa guides her through techniques passed down through generations. It's meditative, this simple work. It gives her mind something to do, besides spiral into fear. Dante notices the change. You seem better, he observes one evening, finding her in the library with a book and a glass of wine. Learning to make gnocchi, she says. It's surprising how therapeutic it is to punch dough. The corner of his mouth quirks upward, almost a smile. Rosa's been wanting someone to teach for years. Her daughters have no interest in the kitchen. Claire sets down her book. Tell me about your family. You mentioned a sister. Dante settles into the chair across from her, stretching his long legs toward the fireplace. Elena. She's 32, married to a doctor in Boston, has 2 kids who call me scary uncle and demand candy every time I visit. The image is so unexpectedly normal that Claire laughs. Scary, uncle? Very serious, Dante says solemnly. I once made the 6-year-old cry by not smiling at his knock-knock joke. Claire studies him. This man who speaks of children's jokes and also commands an organization that could eliminate people without a trace. How do you do it, she asks. Live in both worlds? Dante's expression grows thoughtful. The same way anyone does, I suppose. You compartmentalize. You tell yourself that the difficult choices serve a greater purpose. You focus on the people you're protecting rather than the methods required to protect them. And the people you're not protecting? He meets her gaze directly. I can't save everyone. Neither can the police or the government or anyone else who claims moral high ground. The difference is, I don't pretend otherwise. Claire considers this. That sounds lonely. It is, Dante admits. Then he adds more quietly, it was. The present tense doesn't escape her notice. They sit in silence for a moment, the fire crackling between them, and Claire feels something shift in the space they share. A wall lowering, perhaps, or a bridge beginning to form. Can I ask you something personal? She says. You're going to anyway. She smiles at the repeated phrase, their new private joke. Have you ever been in love? Dante's face goes still. Once, a long time ago. What happened? She chose a different life. One without bodyguards and bulletproof windows and the constant threat of people trying to destroy what I built. Claire nods slowly. I think I understand that. The appeal of normal, I mean, even when normal turns out to be a lie. Your husband, Dante says, did you love him? The question catches her off guard. I thought I did. I loved who I believed he was. Turns out that person never existed. Dante leans forward. That's not your fault. Some people are very good at wearing masks. And some people, Claire thinks, looking at the man across from her, wear their truth on their faces, even when it would be easier to hide. She doesn't say this out loud. She isn't ready for what it might mean. Instead, she picks up her wineglass and changes the subject. Tell me about the gnocchi Rosa's making tomorrow. She mentioned something about brown butter and sage, and Dante, understanding what she needs, follows her lead into safer conversational waters. But the moment lingers between them like a promise neither has spoken yet. 2 nights later, the fragile peace shatters. Claire is asleep when the alarm starts screaming through the house. She bolts upright, heart pounding, and barely has time to register what's happening before Dante appears in her doorway. Get dressed. Now. We're leaving. She doesn't ask questions. She throws on clothes and shoes with shaking hands, and by the time she reaches the hallway, Dante is already moving toward the back of the house. What happened? Someone breached the perimeter security. Might be nothing. Might be everything. We're not staying to find out. They exit through a door Claire didn't know existed, emerging into the dark garden. A car waits at the back gate, engine running, a driver she doesn't recognize behind the wheel. In, Dante commands. They are halfway across the city when Claire finally asks, where are we going? Secondary location. More secure. How did they find us? I don't know yet, but I will. His voice carries a promise of consequences that Claire doesn't want to imagine. The secondary location turns out to be a penthouse apartment overlooking Central Park. It's larger than the Brooklyn brownstone, more obviously luxurious with floor-to-ceiling windows that showcase the glittering city below. Isn't all this glass a security risk? Claire asks, remembering the reinforced windows of the safe house. It's specially treated, Dante explains. Can't be shot through, can't be seen through from outside. The building has more security than most embassies. Claire walks to the window and stares out at the park, a dark rectangle in the middle of Manhattan's brilliant grid. I can't keep running forever. You won't have to. Dante joins her at the window. I'm accelerating our timeline. The Kovacs group needs to be dealt with, and so does your husband. Claire turns to face him. What does dealt with mean? It means I'm going to make them understand that pursuing you is more costly than forgetting you exist. And Marcus? Dante's jaw tightens. Marcus will face consequences for what he did, but not the kind he fears most. I have no interest in making you a widow. The word lands strangely. Widow. As if she's still connected to Marcus in any meaningful way. I don't care what happens to him, Claire says, and realizes she means it. He was willing to let me be sold. Whatever debt he owes, to you or anyone else, is his problem. Dante studies her face. You've changed since that night at the gala. I had to. The woman who walked into that ballroom doesn't exist anymore. She believed in things that turned out to be illusions. And the woman standing here now? What does she believe in? Claire meets his gaze. Survival. Truth. The kindness of strangers who turn out to be more trustworthy than people I've known for years. She sees his breath catch, watches his expression shift from guarded to something more vulnerable. Claire, he says, and her name sounds different in his voice, weighted with meaning. She doesn't know who moves first. Maybe neither of them does. Maybe the space between them simply closes by mutual gravitation, two people drawn together by circumstances neither chose and emotions neither expected. His hand comes up to cup her face, gentle despite the strength she knows it holds. This is complicated, he murmurs. Everything is complicated. That doesn't make it less real. When he kisses her, it feels like falling and flying at the same time, like danger and safety wrapped into one moment, like the answer to a question she didn't know she was asking. They break apart slowly, foreheads touching, breath mingling. I didn't plan this, Dante says. I know. Neither did I. He pulls back enough to look at her properly. Whatever happens next, whatever I have to do to end this threat, I need you to know that this moment is real. You're not leverage. You're not a transaction. You're a woman I would protect even if there was nothing to gain from it. Claire feels tears prick her eyes, but these are different from the tears she shed at the brownstone. These come from hope, not despair. I believe you, she whispers, and for the first time since this nightmare began, she truly does. If you've been touched by this story, if you're feeling what Claire is feeling right now, pause and leave a comment with this phrase: some storms bring the right person into your life. Let me know you're here, that you're part of this journey. Your words mean more than you know. The next week exists in a strange bubble of planning and proximity. Dante coordinates meetings with men whose names Claire doesn't recognize, speaks in coded phrases about logistics and timing, and returns to her. Each evening with updates delivered in carefully measured doses. The Kovac group is fragmenting, he tells her one night over dinner. Internal disputes, rival factions. The man leading the pursuit of you has enemies within his own organization. Is that good for us? It means they're distracted, vulnerable. The right pressure at the right time could make this problem disappear. Claire pushes pasta around her plate. Pressure. You mean violence? Dante sets down his fork. I mean leverage. Information. Financial attacks. The Kovac group operates businesses as fronts. Those businesses can be investigated, disrupted, destroyed. Violence is a last resort. It isn't the answer she expected. The Mafia boss preferring paperwork to warfare. You seem surprised, he observes. I suppose I had preconceptions. Most people do. He picks up his wine glass. The reality of modern organized influence is less dramatic than the movies suggest. Most of our power comes from information, connections, and the credible. Threat of consequences. Actual violence is expensive, messy, and attracts attention none of us want. So you're going to defeat the Kovac group with spreadsheets? The corner of his mouth quirks. Spreadsheets, legal filings, and a few well-placed phone calls to federal prosecutors who owe favors. By the time I'm done, their operations will be under investigation on 3 continents. Claire absorbs this. That's actually kind of impressive. I try. They finish dinner and migrate to the living room, where floor-to-ceiling windows offer Manhattan as their backdrop. Claire has grown to love these evening hours, the city sparkling below while she and Dante talk about everything and nothing. Tonight, though, something feels different. Charged. Can I ask you something? Dante says, settling onto the couch beside her. You're going to anyway. He smiles at their shared joke. When this is over, when the threat is eliminated, what do you want your life to look like? Claire considers the question. Seriously? I don't know anymore. Everything I thought I wanted, the marriage, the career, the comfortable routine, it's all been exposed as hollow. Marcus wasn't who I thought he was. My life wasn't what I thought it was. How do I know what I want when I can't trust my own judgment? You trusted yourself enough to get in that SUV with me. That was desperation, not judgment. Dante shakes his head. That was instinct. You read me correctly in a moment of crisis and made the right call. Give yourself more credit. Claire turns to face him. What do you want? When this is over? Dante is quiet for a long moment. I want what I've always wanted. Safety for the people I care about. A legacy that doesn't require my children, if I ever have them, to live with bodyguards. The chance to build something that lasts beyond the next generation. That sounds almost normal. Appearances can be deceiving. He holds her gaze. But yes, beneath everything, I want what most people want. Connection. Purpose. Someone to share the silence with. The words hang between them, heavy with implication. Claire reaches out and takes his hand. You have that, she says quietly, for whatever it's worth. Dante's fingers tighten around hers. It's worth everything. They stay like that as the city glitters below them, two people finding unexpected solace in the most unlikely of circumstances. The piece lasts 3 more days. Claire is in the penthouse library when Dante returns from a meeting, his expression tight with barely contained fury. What happened? She asks, rising from her chair. The Kovac group made a move. They sent a message through channels, letting me know that they're aware of your location. They want to negotiate. How did they find out? Dante runs a hand through his hair. A leak. Someone in my organization talked. I'm dealing with it. The cold edge in his voice makes Claire shiver. What do they want? You, obviously. They're offering to drop all claims against Marcus in exchange for a meeting. A meeting? Claire repeats flatly. They want me to walk into their hands. That's not happening. Dante's tone brooks no argument, but their communication confirms something useful. They're desperate. Their organization is crumbling, and they need a win to consolidate power. What does that mean for us? It means we accelerate everything. I have enough evidence to bring down their operation, but I was planning to take more time, gather more ammunition. Now we move fast. Claire watches him pace the length of the room. Can I help? He stops and looks at her. What can I help? She repeats. I'm not going to sit here being a damsel while you fight my battles. Tell me what I can do. Something shifts in Dante's expression. Respect, maybe. Or admiration. Your husband is still in hiding, we know where. A direct conversation with him might shake loose information he's been withholding. You want me to confront Marcus? I want you to have the choice. You don't have to, but you know him better than anyone. You might see, through his lies where we would miss the tells. Claire considers this. The thought of facing Marcus makes her stomach churn, but the thought of being passive, of letting others determine her fate, is worse. Okay, she says, set up the meeting. The meeting happens 2 days later in a neutral location, a restaurant in Midtown that Dante assures her is thoroughly monitored. Marcus is already there when Claire arrives, looking thinner than she remembers. Dark circles beneath his eyes, speaking to sleepless nights. Claire, he says, rising as she approaches the table, I didn't know if you'd come. She slides into the seat across from him, maintaining distance. You look terrible. His laugh is hollow. I've been living out of hotels for weeks, jumping at shadows, wondering if today is the day someone finally catches up with me. Whose fault is that? Marcus has the decency to look ashamed. I know what you must think of me. Do you? Claire leans forward. Do you really understand what you did? You offered me to criminals, Marcus. You put a price on my head. You were willing to let me be sold to people who traffic human beings. I was desperate, he whispers. I owed so much money. They were going to hurt me, so you sacrificed me instead. He doesn't deny it. Claire sits back, studying the man she once promised to love forever. I want to know everything. Every deal you made, every person you talked to, every lie you told. And you're going to tell me, because it's the only chance you have of Surviving this, and if I don't, then Dante Caruso will handle things his way. And I promise you, Marcus, you don't want that. The fear in his eyes is satisfying in a way Claire didn't expect. He talks. For 2 hours, he talks, spilling names and dates and amounts, detailing the cascade of bad decisions that led them here. Claire records everything on a device Dante gave her, maintaining composure even as the full picture of her husband's betrayal becomes clear. When it's over, she stands to leave. Claire, wait. Marcus grabs her hand. I loved you. In my own way, I really did. She looks at his fingers wrapped around her wrist, and she feels nothing. No anger, no grief, not even contempt. Just the hollow echo of a connection that was never real. Goodbye, Marcus. She walks out of the restaurant and into a waiting car, where Dante sits in the back seat. How did it go? I got everything we need. She hands him the recording device, his entire network, laid out in detail. Dante takes the device, but his eyes stay on her face. Are you okay? Claire considers the question. Yes, she realizes. I think I am. She feels lighter somehow, as if confronting the wreckage of her old life has finally set her free from it. The operation against the Kovac group unfolds over the next 2 weeks, with precision that borders on artistry. Dante coordinates with federal contacts, international agencies, and his own network of information gatherers to build an airtight case against the organization's leadership. Claire watches from the sidelines, marveling at the scope of what he's orchestrating. You're bringing down an entire criminal organization with paperwork, she observes one evening. Dante looks up from his laptop. The modern world runs on paperwork. Whoever controls the documentation controls reality. That's surprisingly philosophical for a mafia boss. He smiles, a real smile that transforms his face. I contain multitudes. The arrests begin on a Tuesday morning. Claire learns about it. Through news alerts that flood her phone, reports of coordinated raids across multiple states, dozens of indictments, the collapse of businesses that had operated in shadows for decades. By Tuesday afternoon, the Kovac group effectively ceases to exist. Dante returns to the penthouse that evening looking exhausted but satisfied. It's done, he says. Their leadership is in custody. Their assets are frozen. The men who were hunting you are facing charges that will keep them imprisoned for the rest of their lives. Claire feels something release in her chest. It's really over. It's really over. She crosses the room and wraps her arms around him, burying her face against his chest. He holds her tight, one hand stroking her hair, and for a long moment they simply stand together in the fading light. What happens now? She asks finally. Now you have choices. You can go back to your life, resume your career, rebuild. Or, he trails off. Or you can stay. Claire pulls back to look at him. Stay. Here? Stay with me. Dante cups her face in his hands. I know this started under impossible circumstances. I know I'm not what anyone would choose under normal conditions, but these weeks with you have been the closest thing to happiness I've felt in years. I don't want to lose that. Claire feels tears sliding down her cheeks. I don't know how to be a mafia boss's partner. I don't know how to be anything else. He wipes her tears with his thumbs. But we could figure it out together, if you're willing. She thinks about the life she had before, the comfortable lies, the hollow marriage, the careful avoidance of anything real or dangerous or uncertain. She thinks about Dante, the danger and the tenderness, the violence he's capable of and the gentleness he shows her. The way he makes her feel safe not by hiding her from the world, but by standing beside her in the middle of it. The answer comes easily. Yes, she says, I'm willing. Dante's smile lights up his face. He pulls her close and kisses. Her and Claire feels the last remnants of her old life finally fall away. The road ahead won't be easy. She knows that. There will be complications and dangers and choices she can't predict. But for the first time in longer than she can remember, she's not afraid of the future. She's looking forward to it. 6 months later, Claire stands at the window of the penthouse, watching snow fall over Central Park. The city looks magical in white, softened and quiet, and she feels a peace she once thought impossible. So much has changed since that night at the gala. Her divorce from Marcus was finalized in record time, helped along by his eagerness to disappear from her life completely. Last she heard, he was living in a small town in Montana under a new name, trying to rebuild himself far from the consequences of his choices. She doesn't wish him well exactly, but she doesn't wish him harm either. He simply no longer exists in the landscape of her heart. She's resumed her interior design, career but with a new focus. Dante introduced her to contacts who needed spaces transformed, and she discovered a talent for converting cold, impersonal properties into warm, welcoming homes. Her client list now includes some of the most powerful families on the East Coast, people who value both her aesthetic sensibilities and her discretion. Her relationship with Dante has deepened in ways she couldn't have predicted. They've learned each other's rhythms, accommodated each other's needs, built a partnership that feels more real than anything she experienced in her marriage. He is still a man of power and influence, still operates in worlds she doesn't fully understand. But he has drawn clear boundaries, compartmentalized his life to protect her from the darkness, and she trusts him to maintain those boundaries. Is it a conventional relationship? No. Is it honest? Yes. And Claire has learned that honesty is worth more than convention. Arms wrap around her from behind, and Dante rests, his chin on her shoulder. "What are you thinking about?" he asks. "Everything, nothing. How different my life is from what I expected. Good different or bad different?" She turns in his arms to face him. Good different. Unimaginably good. He kisses her forehead. "We have reservations in an hour. Elena wants to have dinner before the kids go to bed." Claire smiles. Dante's sister has become one of her closest friends, a development neither of them anticipated. Elena was skeptical at first, protective of her brother, and suspicious of the woman who entered his life under such unusual circumstances. But time and countless family dinners have built a genuine bond. "I love your family," Claire says. "They love you too, especially the kids. They just want candy." Dante laughs. Fair point. They dress for dinner and make their way downtown to Elena's brownstone, where warmth and chaos await. The children attack Dante the moment he walks through the door, climbing him like a jungle gym while demanding the promised sweets. Claire hugs Elena and helps set the table, falling into the comfortable routines of belonging. Over dinner, conversation flows easily. Elena talks about her medical practice. Her husband Marco shares hospital gossip. The children interrupt constantly with jokes and questions and demands for attention. It is loud and messy and absolutely perfect. Later, after the kids are in bed and the adults are lingering over wine, Elena catches Claire alone in the kitchen. "I have to admit something," Elena says. "What?" "When Dante first told me about you, I thought he was making a mistake, getting involved with someone from that situation." She shakes her head. "But you're the best thing that's happened to him in years. He's different now, happier, more present." Claire feels warmth spread through her chest. "He saved my life, multiple times, and you saved his, just in different ways." They share a smile of mutual understanding. On the drive home, Claire holds Dante's hand and watches the snowy streets slide past. "Can I tell you something?" she says. "Always. That night at the gala, when everything was falling apart, I thought my life was over. I thought I would never feel safe or happy or hopeful again." She squeezes his fingers. "I was wrong. Claire, you didn't just save me from those men. You showed me what it's like to be truly seen, to be valued for who I am, not who someone wants me to be. I spent years trying to be Marcus's perfect wife, contorting myself into shapes that never fit. With you, I can just be me." Dante pulls the car to the curb and turns to face her fully. "You are the most remarkable woman I've ever known. Brave and kind and honest. I know the circumstances that brought us together were terrible, but I can't regret them. Not when they led me to you." He reaches into his pocket and produces a small velvet box. Claire's breath catches. Dante opens the box to reveal a ring, simple and elegant, a single diamond surrounded by smaller stones that catch the streetlight like captured stars. I know this is fast, I know nothing about our story is traditional, but I love you, Claire. I want to spend whatever future we have together. Will you marry me? Claire doesn't hesitate. Yes. Dante slides the ring onto her finger, and it fits perfectly, like it was made for her. Like all of this was always meant to be. They kiss in the quiet car while snow falls around them, two people who found each other in the wreckage of a gala and built something beautiful from the ruins. If you've watched this far, it's because you liked this story. Leave a comment saying I've watched this far so I can get to know you and see who really enjoys the stories here on the channel. Like this video if Claire and Dante's journey touched your heart. Share it with someone who needs to believe that even the darkest moments can lead to unexpected love. And subscribe if you haven't already, so you never miss another story of transformation, courage, and hope. The snow continues to fall as they drive home, and Claire watches the world transform around them, everything made new and clean and full of possibility. She thinks about the separation news that ruined the gala. She thinks about the silence that turned out to come from a Mafia boss with storm-grey eyes and a heart bigger than anyone would expect. She thinks about how the worst night of her life became the beginning of something extraordinary. And she smiles, because sometimes the stories we think are endings are actually beginnings in disguise. Sometimes the people who seem most dangerous are actually our greatest protectors. And sometimes, if we're brave enough to trust, we find love in the most unexpected places. Claire leans her head against Dante's shoulder and watches the snow fall peaceful and content, knowing that whatever challenges the future brings, she won't face them alone. This is her life now, strange and complicated, and more wonderful than anything she could have imagined. And she wouldn't change a single moment of it. The penthouse is warm when they arrive home, and Claire moves through the familiar space with a sense of belonging that still surprises her sometimes. 6 months ago, this place was a stranger's refuge. Now it's home. She finds herself at the window again, watching the snow gather on the park below. Dante comes to stand beside her, 2 glasses of wine in hand. To new beginnings, he says, offering her a glass. To unexpected journeys. They clink, glasses and drink, comfortable in the silence they share. I called my mother today, Claire says. Told her about the engagement. How did she take it? Better than expected. She's wary of you, of course. Thinks you're too powerful, too dangerous. Claire smiles. But she also said she's never heard me sound so happy. That counted for something. It'll win her over eventually. I don't doubt it. You won me over after all. Dante sets down his glass and takes her hand, turning it so the ring catches the light. You know what I love most about you, he says. My impeccable taste in jewelry. He laughs. Your courage. The way you faced everything that happened and came out stronger. Most people would have been destroyed by what Marcus did. You transformed it into growth. Claire considers this. I had help. You had choices. You could have chosen fear, resentment, despair. Instead, you chose to trust, to rebuild, to love again. That's not about help. That's about who you are. She feels tears prick her, eyes the good kind, the kind that come from being truly seen. I love you, she says. I love you too. Dante pulls her close. More than I have words for. They stand together at the window, while snow transforms the city. 2 people who found their way to each other through chaos and danger and the unexpected kindness of a storm. Outside, the world is cold and white and full of possibility. Inside, there is warmth, there is safety, there is home. And somewhere in the distance, a new year is waiting to begin. Claire closes her eyes and breathes in the moment, this perfect suspended instant between who she was and who she's becoming. The separation news ruined the gala. The silence came from a Mafia boss. And what followed was the most extraordinary love story she never expected to live. She is ready for whatever comes next. She is ready for forever. The snow falls softly as midnight approaches, and Claire and Dante watch it together, holding hands, hearts full, grateful for every strange and beautiful step of the journey that brought them here. This is not the ending, this is just the beginning, and the best stories always are.